if you run a cannabis business and you're reporting your income on a calendar year basis, what do you do then for your 2024 business income tax return? Do we have to say, okay, only the last 3 months, everything's deductible, and for the first 9 months, only cost of goods sold is deductible? Well, that kind of doesn't make any sense. So it would seem to me that the entire year should fall under that category where all the expenses then should be deductible. Well, if that's the case, then what's not to say that same logic should apply to previous years? I mean...
Yeah, look, you had me at hello. I'm with you 100% unequivocally. Your argument is 100% sound, and I'm on the side of cannabis here with the year. But jumping into the previous years, that's a little bit of a stretch. But who makes this call? Back from the CWCB Expo, New York City, I think we did like 16 podcasts there, Eric. Is that right? 21. And we met some incredible individuals. I don't believe we met any tax attorneys, though. No. So we have a really, really, really valuable group here today. Jeffrey Kahn. And the name of the law firm is?
Law Offices of Jeffrey B. Kahn, PC.
And family.
And family.
And you are?
I'm Jeffrey Kahn's daughter and also an associate attorney at the law office.
And this...
Can I give you a name?
If you're out there, you're probably in the cannabis industry or looking into the cannabis industry or some evolution of being involved in cannabis enterprises. We were talking before we started recording this podcast, and this is a very valuable podcast because the first thing that you should do after you get out of bed and you have an idea in the morning is to contact a law firm, and Jeffrey and them specialize in this actually, as well as many other things, and figure out how to structure your business, your enterprise, your LLC, your activities correctly, because that in and of itself will save you tremendous amounts of problems in the future. But we can get into that as we go. But first of all, I want to tell you about them and where they went to law school, how you guys got involved in cannabis. So who wants to start? Just a little bit of journey as to start with where you graduated law school and then how you ended up in cannabis.
Sure. So I go way back, so like about 36 years, and I graduated from University of Miami. Not only did I get my JD there, but also my LLM in tax, became board certified in tax law, also a CPA, and I'm a member of the California and Florida bars.
Nice.
I also teach cannabis compliance classes at the College of the Desert, which is kind of like a junior college, community college, and it's located out in the Palm Springs area of California. And so I've been doing that, and I have my law practice, which is based out of Irvine, California. I have several offices in Southern and Northern California. My daughter, Stephanie, she's located here in Phoenix, and she's also a member of the bar out here. So, through her assistance, we're able to reach out and help to find folks in Arizona.
And let's get into where you started in cannabis and how you first got involved with cannabis law. But first, an introduction to yourself. You went to where law school?
Yes, I went to Brooklyn Law School.
Awesome.
In the borough of Brooklyn. And yeah. And I first did real estate and contracts law in New York City. And then I also did commercial litigation, working for a judge in New York City, and that was a great experience. And those experiences have helped me be able to contribute to my dad's law practice and really expand, especially in the cannabis industry.
Well, that's fantastic. It's a family operation. You're based in California, based in Arizona, but you guys have nationwide reach?
That's correct. Yeah, especially with the tax area, because that's kind of like a national thing. So as long as you are admitted, if you're an attorney admitted to the bar in any state, you can represent anyone with tax issues in any state, even outside the country. And we do, have clients, U.S. citizens who live abroad. as well as um, I would say non-U.S. citizens that have U.S. interests or U.S. assets. And of course, those would be subject to tax and regulations and stuff. So we're able to help in that aspect as well.
I love that. I always reflect on time because I feel like I've lived many, many lives. And I always wonder, were there tax attorneys back during the Roman years? Do we know that?
I think must have been taxes.
The court, yeah, there was taxes. Since there's been civilization,
Yes.
you've been having to contribute some sort of grain and stuff or whatever to the common good. I don't know why these questions, they just come right to me. So, but let's go back to reality and talk about cannabis. And so you started in cannabis around the passage of 64.
That's right, Prop 64. So when that passed, and that was like about 6 years ago.
In California?
Yep, in California. And that is the proposition that made recreational cannabis or adult use cannabis legal. Medical cannabis has been legal for a long time in California before that. And so I thought, well, with California's booming population and pretty wide acceptance of cannabis, how can I, as a tax attorney, help this, industry? And that's a big thing with me. It's how can I help people? And sometimes it could be just educating somebody, and now they can make the difference between, or they can now make a right decision versus a wrong decision. So I thought of a case that I recently successfully resolved.
Was this your first cannabis case?
No, this wasn't a cannabis case, but it dealt with somebody who had his own business operations going on, never reported his income, and now he kind of like had a moment where, you know what, I need to come clean. And so he sought me out and met with him. I told him about how you can do what's called a voluntary disclosure, where you come forward to the IRS, and if you follow a certain protocol, you essentially get exempted from criminal prosecution.
Really? Mm-hmm. So that's like a first-time offenders program times
pretty well much,
crack
yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just plead guilty.
I like that.
And so carrying that over to the cannabis industry.
Can I ask how long he was not paying, or she was not paying taxes for?
He wasn't paying taxes for a very long time, but the disclosure period is a 6-year period. So basically, we only have to focus on a window of 6 years.
Right.
And then you, in other words, go through all the hoops, follow the procedures, don't have to worry about criminal prosecution, and we don't have to worry about all that old stuff in the past.
Uncle Sam is generous and forgiving, apparently. That's nice to know.
Yeah.
Those two together.
Yes, and here I was afraid of the federal government my whole life. Little did I know they're okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So segueing then into, okay, well, how do you equate that, Jeff, to, the cannabis industry, somebody who's in cannabis? And the easy thing is, well, if you're successful in cannabis, you've probably been doing it for a long time, okay? And so that being the case, how have you been reporting this income? What deductions, are you taking? And if you haven't been reporting anything, and now all of a sudden you're going to get a license and put yourself on the radar screen and stuff, file a tax return showing all this profit, IRS good question. You didn't just get off the turnip truck to make a whole lot of money.
So what was your first, can I ask what was your first, I don't want to get into names obviously, but what was your first case in cannabis? What was your first taste of the cannabis space?
Well, I started speaking at seminars.
Right.
I exhibited at MJ Biz Kahn, a few other cannabis conventions, just to basically meet people, educate people.
Right.
And so, cannabis business people would realize, oh, you know what? We've got this exposure. We have this problem, We don't want to deal with this huge tax bill that's going to wipe out our business. How can we manage this? How can we minimize it? And that's how I would pick up various, clients.
But you don't just do taxes. You do litigation, contracts, all other aspects of the cannabis
That's correct.
industry. And my favorite part, which is corporate structuring. From
That's
the beginning.
That's
Yes.
correct.
After you get out of bed, before you get to the shower, call them and structure your business correctly.
That
That's
should be
right.
number one.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, that should be the number one thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So so we're set up where basically we can offer what I call kind of like a startup business type thing where
Oh, you got a package on this. I like this.
so basically not only covering you with taxes, but covering you with how to set up your accounting systems, how to structure your business. Hey, do I do a corporation? Do I do an LLC? I have cultivation. I have a dispensary. Should they be like separate entities? How should they interface with each other? What kind of contracts should we have in place? And then, if there's a vendor that now you're disputing with, or a landlord, or, eventually the state and dealing with a tax agency, or you've got an issue with a license where the city's not being so cooperative and so quick in granting you the license, or they're giving you problems in renewing your license, we can provide that type of service. And, it's something that can be done where, hey, look, we can come in on a kind of like a pay as you need us type thing.
I just think you should
and
give
not
you a percentage of the
necessarily-
business. Can you take a percentage of the business?
Yeah, I mean, it can be structured where I could take a ownership interest or something like that. But yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
Might have a deal for you.
yeah,
Interesting. No, because obviously, I mean, for those of us who know, first generation laws, first generation regs, first generation ordinances, first generation everything are just, nobody knows what to do. And in the end, it's all law. And so everybody needs to work closely with their attorneys. So you better find some attorneys that you like, that you can trust, that you can communicate well with, that communicate well with you. And when starting or doing any enterprise in the cannabis space. Now, you guys do seed to sale, cultivation, extraction, processing, manufacturing, distribution, deliveries, retail, ancillary, auxiliary, all enterprises.
yes,
Yes.
all enterprises.
Is there
And-
a type that you prefer?
Well-
He wants to work with the guys who sell flowers, so he gets free flour. He's not going to say that.
We don't know if he smokes.
You're a cultivator. Yeah, sorry, that's true. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
So,
talk too much.
well, I like to solve problems. I like to help people in all the different areas and marketing or channels that you've mentioned about. Some are going to be more challenging than others. So, like if we just focus on the tax aspect, if you are a cultivator or a manufacturer, I've got a lot more flexibility in terms of getting the most bang for your buck for all those expenditures that you're making. Because the more of those expenditures that you can get the IRS to respect as tax deductions, and of course, the lower the taxable income, the less amount of taxes that a business has to pay.
Hold your thought. Tagline. Learn how to deduct your META membership in 2024. Coming soon.
And beyond.
Yes. You just got me thinking about that.
Okay.
We can get them to deduction. Well, we're going to get to rescheduling.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead with
yeah.
what you're saying.
Yeah, no worries. So anyways, so if you're a manufacturer, you're a cultivator, I've got a lot more flexibility on getting more tax deductions or more of your expenses tax deductible versus if you are a dispensary. It's a dispensary. It's a lot more challenging. It's limited, but there are some creative ways that we can go ahead and pursue. And, that's kind of like how I like to look at different challenges and problems, kind of think out of the box.
Right. And this year is going to be every single enterprise, plant touching enterprise in cannabis is going to be consulting with their CPA, their accountants, their tax attorney, or some trained professional, because something's going to happen. We all believe that Schedule 3 is going to occur this year, and that perhaps makes the entire year of activity deductible in a new way?
Yeah, it's possible. So IRC, Internal Revenue Code, Section 280E, is a section that basically limits what cannabis businesses can deduct. And essentially that came from a tax court case back in the day. Didn't deal necessarily with cannabis, but it dealt with a taxpayer who had a business that was illegal, generating income, and he got audited, and IRS said, well, whatever income you earned, you're going to have to report, but we're not letting you deduct any of your expenses. And so he went to tax court, and the argument was, well, essentially, by the IRS not allowing me to deduct my expenses for my business, you're essentially saying that this is not an income tax, but it's a gross receipts tax, like a sales tax.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's unconstitutional. And the tax court agreed, and they ended up ruling that this business person was entitled to deduct the expenses relative to his business because, by the way, under the tax code, whether your income is legal or illegal, it's still subject to tax.
Right.
So,
I dig that.
So Congress didn't
You're
like.
gonna have to pay taxes soon, buddy.
That's right, man. Deep pocket.
So Congress didn't like that result, and or I should say IRS didn't like the result. They complained to Congress, and Congress then passed IRC 280E.
Okay, so I'm an enterprise out there. I'm a cultivator. I'm thinking to myself, wow, I need to contact him because if this gets rescheduled in October, and all of us predict it'll be like sometime between like July and October, what I was doing back in January is now deductible. Do you see that happening? I mean,
Well,
we're all guessing now.
Yeah, we're all kind of guessing. We need to see
You can force the issue.
Yeah, we need to see, what comes out in the final rule, when it comes out, okay? But one of the things that I think about is, okay, let's assume that the final rule comes out in October, and it says cannabis now is rescheduled to Class 3, okay? Right. Well, if you run a cannabis business and you're reporting your income on a calendar year basis, what do you do then for your 2024 business income tax return? Do we have to say, okay, only the last 3 months, everything's deductible, and for the first 9 months, only cost of goods sold is deductible? Well, that kind of doesn't make any sense. So it would seem to me that the entire year should fall under that category where all the expenses then should be deductible. Well, if that's the case, then what's not to say that same logic should apply to previous years? I mean, the fact that, cannabis got rescheduled now.
Yeah. Look, you had me at hello. I'm with you 100% unequivocally. Your argument is 100% sound, and I'm on the side of cannabis here with the year. But jumping into the previous years, that's a little bit of a stretch. But who makes this call? Who is the person? So it goes. I don't know the processes as well as the government and how it works. It goes Schedule 3, and is there an administrator at IRS, or does Joe Biden call down and say, hey, I know it doesn't happen this way, but theoretically, somebody in Congress, who is the person that's making this call? And I'll tell you why we need to know that in a second. How does that work?
So basically what the IRS can do is if there is a change in law or a change of rule, let's say like by one agency or even a court ruling, the IRS could say, you know what, in order to kind of like have a more effective administration, not tie up as many resources, we are going to act in this fashion. And usually when stuff like that happens, IRS says, okay, taxpayers, we're letting you know we're making this change in how we look at things, but it's only going to apply for a certain period of time. So that means now if it's a result that you got to file an amended return, and
Right.
IRS says, okay, file this amended return, do it within like the next 6 months or whatever.
Yeah.
Put this notation, this footnote or whatever. Now we have guidance. Now we have authority. And of course, if you've now filed returns in the past, and by filing amended returns under this, hypothetical new guidance or authority that comes out,
Yeah.
you have the ability now maybe to get money back from the government if you already paid it, or you've got an existing liability. It's now going to get lower.
I love this. I'm going to get you some people to poke the bear, okay? Because this is going to be fun. Because you're poking Uncle Sam, you're poking the federal government. The reason I was asking that question, and I'll go back to that in a second, was is it the director of the IRS, a committee at the IRS? Who is the person that ultimately will be making the call? I mean, who do you think? Do you know? I don't know. I have no idea. As to say, you know what? It's Schedule 3 now, and obviously we're not going to, argue the point. It is, things are now deductible. We might argue the point if it's only for the last 3 months of the year, and we'll definitely argue the point as to whether it's retroactive to previous years. But I'm going to say this. Is that Congress? Is that the president? Is that the IRS? And if so, who in the IRS?
Well, it could be any one of the above. Typically,
Civics here, lessons.
yeah. So
I'm learning.
typically, okay.
Question, huh? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
I got to give myself a pat on the back for the question.
That was good.
No, good question there.
All right.
Good question there. So I would say whoever's the one who's doing the reach out, okay, where
Yeah.
you're looking for a change, you're looking for certainty, who's that person? If you are like a general public or business person, you're not going to be writing to the commissioner of the IRS.
Right.
But you should be contacting your congressman
Okay.
and telling your congressman, hey, look, cannabis got rescheduled. It should affect my business or impact my business whereby I'm paying taxes like any other business.
Right.
In terms of with IRS, there's nobody to reach out there. Typically what happens is the IRS commissioner and other officials, they'll be like speakers at different like attorney or
Right.
CPA events, and so they will hear from practitioners, their clients' concerns,
Right.
The practitioners' concerns and all. So that's typically like the two-prong approach to follow. Professionals
Right.
will go that route with IRS officials. The public, businessmen should contact their congressman.
And excuse my ignorance, but there is a top dog, top of the pyramid, somebody called the commissioner of the IRS.
Commissioner of the IRS,
Do they have a name?
Danny Warfel.
Email,
Danny.
contact, address for Danny, the commissioner of the IRS. We're going to send him this video. Say, Danny, you need to listen to this guy because he's going to straighten out a lot of problems for you. Okay. Oh, look, there's his email. We'll send it over to Danny later. Thank you for that.
Okay.
So,
all right.
so I look forward to you helping straightening out this mess for the IRS and for the companies that you work with, that you're in contact with the IRS. And I'm 100% in agreement with you that it makes absolutely no sense to do it just for the last 3 months of the year. And it should be retroactive to January 1st of 2024. If I may, because just a little test here.
Yeah.
Give me your best argument, counselor. I'm the judge.
Okay.
Your counselor. Why should this be retroactive to 2023? The IRS has now said that your client gets January 1st, 2024, the whole year to deduct things like a normal business person. Why should we give them back the money for 2023?
Well, I'm not going to jump to that conclusion right
That was
now
a good
without
question too,
seeing
right?
the final rule. Okay.
Okay.
That's
All right.
But maybe the key is, and when Danny gets this by email, Danny should look at that issue to give a specific ruling ahead of time, so that there is no controversy. You know what I'm saying? So people don't, even if they say it's not retroactive to 2023 or 2022 or 2021, you could still challenge that. Mm-hmm. Because it's just a commercial rule.
Well, yeah, if there is, again, you've
that's
got
a lot of money.
You've got to be based on some kind of authority, based on some kind of school of thought. I guess, kind of like if you're looking at like common sense
Right.
type thing outside, the actual labeling. Okay, I mean, look, if it's whatever the label is, that's what it is, and that's the law that's going to apply, and that's it. Well, then you're kind of stuck, there. But if the label really doesn't matter, but it's like, what is the characteristics of having that label, of class 1? Well, what has changed, other than a new rule recognizing that cannabis would be class 3 instead of class 1. I mean, nothing's changed with the product. There was medical trials, going on all this period, showing the medical benefits and all that kind of stuff. If anything, you've got more and more states legalizing, cannabis. So there's a lot of that stuff going on. The question is there some way that you could tie that in with some kind of legal doctrine or legal authority that would say, okay, we can go back in time.
Yeah, I love it.
And get the benefits.
No, somebody should, hire you just to do that. Could be millions of dollars depending on the enterprise. Right. I mean, the IRS is going to have a tough issue there, and if it's not you, it'll be somebody else. Clearly, you have the mind, the skill, and the expertise to do it. So I think that's going to be really exciting to see where this goes.
Yep. Well, that's why I want to see what that final ruling looks like.
Yeah, I hope you get them too. Eric and I are very much libertarian minded, and everybody knows Meat Unshackled is very much a free market libertarian kind of podcast, kind of show. But so other than Schedule 3 and this giant adventure that's going to occur, and everybody's going to need guidance and information, which is the primary reason that I was suggesting people reach out to you. What other areas that you see in the future are you excited about? Do you want people reaching out to you about we've already established that, obviously when you get out of bed, before you get to the shower, call them, start your enterprise. You're obviously clearly experts on taxation, and this is going to be a big adventure for people as well. But like litigation or contract work as well, do you guys enjoy that? Or
Yep, we do. So Stephanie gets involved in a lot of the contract work.
Yes, I'm very helpful in starting businesses, LLCs, helping with trust. So kind of building your business, shaping it how you want it to be. And of course, that goes over into cannabis as well.
What about publicly traded? I think another big area of practice law, is mergers and acquisitions coming up. Tremendous. There's going to be all kinds of mergers and acquisitions. Interstate commerce, the regulatory stuff is coming up, another area of law. But also, I think a lot of people are going to be structuring their companies to try to go public and prepare for that. You guys, as a law firm, are you guys, say I'm a cultivator. I say, Jeff, here's what I'm thinking. Everybody's telling me I should go public. What do I do first? And obviously you're going to say structure your company correctly first. Let me help you with that, and you guys can do that.
Right.
But what do you think about that area of law too? Is that something you guys...
So that's something that I can help consult and kind of like set up for. Mm-hmm. Going public is just like a whole huge world on itself. But in terms of how I see it happening in the cannabis industry, clearly if there's a change on the legal side in terms of classification, access to banking, and that kind of stuff, there's already a lot of publicly held companies, whether it's, the beverage companies, the cigarette companies and stuff, medical companies. They're just dying to jump into this space. But, until the legal landscape changes on that, they're prevented from doing that. So it kind of reminds me of, back in the day with Blockbuster Video.
That's old school.
That's now I'm giving up on my age here, okay? But yeah, back
what's
then,
a video?
Yeah, back then, you had all these independent, video outlets, okay? And the idea came, hey, if we, set everything up on a uniform system and make it easy for people to find and check out, their videotapes and stuff like that, that's a way to go ahead and build an empire. And so Wayne Huizinga, he was the mastermind behind this, and they'd go out and buy all these different independent videos and put up the Blockbuster sign and relabel all of the videotapes to say Blockbuster on it and all that kind of stuff. And that's how, he built that empire. Well, I would think the same thing would happen with cannabis, where if you are a successful, entrepreneur.
I'm listening. Are you listening?
I am.
And you especially have a brand name that's, very popular, and stuff like that, a big company's going to want to snatch you up and incorporate your business, incorporate your brand name on, a nationwide platform. And so that's how I see more of the direction versus you got a bunch of individual guys and, somebody says, hey, your weed is great. Why don't you go public?
No, I like the vision. I like the angle. Why do you know so much about the Blockbuster story?
Well, he's from Broward County in South Florida, and that's where I'm from.
Okay. Interesting. Is he still alive? Do you know?
I don't know.
You weren't his attorney, were you?
No, I wasn't.
Oh.
I loved Blockbuster though. As a kid.
I wasn't, but one of the first jobs that I had starting out as an attorney, I worked for a firm in Broward County where they were outside counsel to one of his companies. And so I worked on a lot of merger and acquisitions where this company was acquiring essentially construction rental equipment stores all over the country. And so, I represent, of course, the acquirer.
Yeah.
And that was fun work.
Jeff, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. You seem like a very calm, deliberative, intelligent man. You're perfect to work with. I'm thinking about like bringing you into a deal that I'm doing, but we'll talk about that after we finish the podcast. Sure. Because certainly you have that level of expertise that's absolutely necessary and essential to any cannabis enterprise. And as things will only get more complex before they get simpler. So people need to reach out to an individual like yourself and a good law firm like yours to figure out how to do things properly so they don't get in trouble.
Right.
Local Scottsdale.
And what?
And she's local Scottsdale.
Well, she's local here, but they're nationwide, Eric.
He can help
This
is-
anybody in
yeah.
any state.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Any state.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's incredible. And well, you stunned me with the Blockbuster thing, and I'll tell you why after we finish up the podcast. How do people get in touch with you?
So best way is send me an email. So my email address is jeff@Kahn, that's my last name, KAHN, taxlaw.com. jeff@KahnTaxlaw.com.
And any closing thoughts, like, your father forgot to mention that he's a superhero or that he has like superhero powers or something that I left out?
It's just a very cool industry to work in, and it's ever changing, and that's what makes it really fun and interesting. And yeah, learning from him is great, and we hope to help a lot of people.
I really appreciated getting to know you guys. I love the family business, and I love your calm, deliberate demeanor and how you handle things. I'm an ex-prosecutor, so you can sense in a man's eyes when he's telling the truth, and I sense a lot of truth coming from you. So that's refreshing to see. Sorry, my own cynical things come out at the end of the show. Anyways, it's been great. Reach out to the Kahn law firm, the family business. It's fantastic, nationwide, and certainly just talk to them about your enterprise and where you're at, because there's a lot of things that are changing, and they might have ways to save you money, and certainly they'll have ways to save you trouble. So Thank you for joining us on Meat Unshackled, and we'll see you guys around.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here.